Oh, of course. Oh, there it is. Hello, hello, hello. Top of the morning, evening, afternoon, and good night to one and all. As always, right? Sorry for not being around the past couple of days to do some updates on some of these riots, but I've got some news. Right, I got some news on some of these situations. It's been a couple of days. We're gonna go over it, and I'm gonna give you my commentary over a couple of these because some of them disturb me. And yeah, the title, I made sure that I worded this correctly because all over the place it seems like every 2 years, every 4 years specifically, some real bad shit happens. Whether it's a protest, someone dies, there's riots, there's bombings. It's just without peace, there can't be war. Without war, there can't be peace. And let's just jump right into this, shall we? Because we're going to go into this number right here. This is important because I read this and I was like, "Oh wow!" So they're going to pull out National Guard. But check this out. Let's play this.
Legal back and forth over President Trump's use of California's National Guard. An appeals court just paused a previous ruling that required.
That's important. 3 hours ago, just paused the National Guard in California.
Trump to return control of the National Guard to California. That means that for now, Trump can keep those troops there.
Oh, he
can. The ruling
can.
comes
Okay.
as the third night of curfew is underway right now in downtown LA. CNN's Nick Watt is live on the ground. Nick, is the curfew working? What have you seen from protesters tonight?
Oh, yes, the curfew is working. Ever since it kicked in, we've just seen convoys of LAPD vehicles, sirens blaring, driving around the curfew zone. You can hear the helicopters above. You know, even before the curfew, I've got to say there were many more law enforcement than there were protesters. They have found some people to arrest, though. You can see over here, they've been arresting some people.
Just out rounding people up. Just random people on the streets. And if we see you on the streets at a certain time, you're getting locked up. That's all.
People loading them on.
It's a shame we have to do this, honestly. It really is. It's the same thing with the COVID, right? There shouldn't be a curfew. Just act right and you won't have a problem.
Onto that paddy wagon to take away. There was a bit of action this afternoon, actually, just after the first ruling came down that Trump could not keep the National
That's what I thought this was over, was the first. Okay.
Guard here. We actually noticed the National Guard sort of melted away from outside that federal detention center, presumably inside. Left outside were DHS police officers who did make a couple of forays into the crowd after some things were thrown at them. They came out, grabbed a couple of people, dragged them inside. That was about the extent of it. Other than that, pretty peaceful day of protest, to be honest. Loud, very loud, but that was the only little sort of flare-up, dust-up that we've seen. So right now, yeah, this area, this little slice of downtown that has been the focus of the protests, it is locked down for a third night. The curfew is working. There's not going to be any trouble inside this zone. Now, who knows whether protesters have moved outside the zone? We don't know that, but inside...
Get in your van and go to where the protesters are and see if they're outside the zone.
Inside this curfew zone, Laura, it is locked down for a third night. Back to you.
Nick Watt, thank you so much for your reporting. Joining me now is former U.S. Attorney and host of the Talking Feds podcast, Harry Litman. Harry, good to see you. What is your reaction tonight to the Ninth Circuit now pausing the ruling?
A totally dizzying day in the courts, Laura, and what has just happened is basically after all this maneuvering, we're back to where we started. So the district court judge, Judge Chuck Breyer, made a very quick schedule and then had a hearing, went into chambers and pounded out a 36-page opinion that says Trump is wrong for two reasons. There isn't a rebellion, and it's to judges to say, and you're trenching on the state police power. Very definitive, thorough, meticulous opinion. Then he paused it for a day and a half so that the administration could appeal. They immediately did, and just really before we came on air, a sort of motions panel in the Ninth Circuit. We know there are two Trump appointees, CNN has reported, but we don't otherwise know, has said administrative stay. All that means is we're going to put it on hold until we think about it and hear about it next Tuesday in a hearing. It doesn't say Breyer's wrong, but it does restore the status quo.
I think it's crazy that a court can overrule what a president wants to do. Right? Like in my mind, if a president says this is what's going to happen, he's an elected official by the people that whatever he says goes. I get it. That might be too much power and that might be an overreach. But at the same time, I don't feel like a court can do that. I don't, because if states want to make their own rules and own laws, even though they're not supposed to make anything looser than federal law, for instance, making weed legal. Now, I get there's going to be a lot of people that argue this and say that, well, if I want to smoke weed in my state, it's legal, but it's not legal federally. Okay, there's a reason why the VA doesn't issue it out. There's a reason why the federal government still prosecutes crimes for drugs, so especially marijuana, right? Like that. So if states want to make their rules less, the fact that the government wants to uphold what is written in the Constitution, that's the end of that.
Whoa. So as of tonight and this minute, those National Guardsmen have been, again, re-federalized, are under the control of the federal government.
And that Judge Breyer opinion, as you mentioned, it wrote in that ruling that Trump did not satisfy the requirements that must be met to call in the National Guard. You mentioned that these protests are not a rebellion. When you look ahead, this is obviously a can kicked down the road. But at some point, someone will have to assess the strength of the administration's case. How is it?
Well, I think his point is the most important, and when it
all right, we get it. Okay, so it's still, we're just not going to listen to them talking. Let me show you something. Check this out. So you know about all these, what is this, 5 minutes of the same thing? It's the same thing.
So overnight, a legal win for the president's push to restore law and order in L.A. As a federal court rules, he can keep the National Guard deployed there as protests rage across Los Angeles. Moments ago, President Trump reacting on Truth Social saying, quote, "If I didn't send the military into Los Angeles, that city would be burning to the ground right now."
I agree. I 100% agree.
Now, we saved L.A. Thank you for the decision. Former federal prosecutor Jonathan Fahey served as the acting ICE director under President Trump's first term, and he joins us now. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining the program this morning.
Thank you.
It's really...
Is this guy in a fucking robe? This guy's in a robe. You don't show up to an interview in a robe. Oh, it is? Okay, it's a suit jacket? Okay, I get a robe. I don't really see the collar.
Really hard to follow the courts on this. You had that decision late in the evening, and then you got one overnight from the courts. But I think when you look at the...
That's a robe. I don't care. You could say that's a blazer all day. That's a robe.
They're going to stand with the president on this issue, right?
I think you're exactly right, and it's certainly not...
No, he's got the suit jacket pocket, and I can also tell you what he has. I can tell you what he doesn't have. He doesn't have a microphone in front of him. He's using the microphone that's on the back of the monitor that he's using.
It's probably not over in the court system.
Right.
This will ultimately be heard by the Ninth Circuit and then possibly the Supreme Court. But the merits that President Trump is on are very strong. This statute allows him to bring in the National Guard when he decides...
Where is his microphone? Like, wait, I feel like it's on the counter. It's on the other desk where the rest of your clothes are.
That there is an interference.
All right, we're losing the message. Let me go back, because I'm so paying attention to his gear that I'm not even it's so hard to hear what he's saying anyway.
Strong.
I feel like I should bring my volume down. Maybe put my microphone, face it towards the back of the room, and just talk to you and see how that works out.
This statute allows him to bring in the National Guard when he decides that there is an interference with federal agencies doing their jobs. And clearly that was the case here. It's not even arguable that these rioters, their whole intent was to prevent the ICE from doing their jobs. That was their stated purpose.
That's
What
right.
makes this case even more unique is California wasn't even trying to help. It's not like their local law enforcement was trying to help and they were unsuccessful. They were, at least in spirit, with the rioters in this case. So President Trump was not only right, it was his responsibility to do so. And
Every time I see a law enforcement agent, right, whether that is cop, National Guard, it does not matter, and they have those paintball guns, I cannot take you serious. I understand it's a riot, you have to use non-lethal, then use pumpkin balls, use rubber balls. Don't.
and things would have gotten a whole lot worse if
You just look like you're about ready to go out on a weekend with your friends and play paintball. Like, that's what I'm getting by looking at you.
didn't.
Yeah, it's just one of those cases where you see the Democrats continue using the courts to delay because they realize that it's really not under real good legal footing, but they don't care. It's delay. I want to get your attention to Senator Padilla because yesterday he was removed from the Secretary of Homeland Security's presser, and this is how he behaved. Watch.
Hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary because the fact
Is he trying to throw down right now? What did he say? Hands up. Wait, what? Go back.
hands up, hands up.
Oh, hands off. I thought you were saying hands up, let's throw down. Yeah. I can't. I was gonna say I never seen a senator want to throw hands.
Hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
That's it.
hands off.
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
Leave my hands. Go ahead, put them behind my back.
All right. Cool. Hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
So it was clearly a political stunt, right?
Clearly a political stunt and really bizarre behavior for a United States senator to act like this was somehow legitimate. And what makes this even worse is the reaction of other Democrats to
That's
this, because the other Democrats have essentially said that he was in the right here. He has every right to go in, disrupt a press conference, lunge towards the stage, and they act like Donald Trump or is somehow behind this. These were law enforcement
Where is his microphone?
officers there to protect the secretary, and they did what they were supposed to do. This idea that they should have known there would be an unhinged senator there. And by the way, nobody outside of maybe the inside the Beltway world knows who Senator Padilla even is, but this idea that they should have known who he was, and somehow if he is an unhinged Democratic senator, he has free reins to go to the podium. It's so unbelievably bizarre. And I think
Does anybody else notice how much they use? Thank you, Jordan, by the way, for that. Does anybody else notice how much they use Democrat, Republican? Yeah, anybody else notice that? Not senator, because that's not important, right? The political faction that he's with is. If we just keep placing the word Democratic, it's like when Apple did their WDC, right? WWDC, the design. They're key words, right? Like there's some psycho situation, psychology thing behind that, where if we keep using keywords, those trigger words will cause you to think something different. It doesn't matter, obviously, a Republican. Well, no, that's not true. It's not true because there are Republicans that are very much against what Trump is doing. So you just keep throwing that out there. You really are trying to separate that divide, right? You're really trying to make it as much as separated as possible.
I think a question for them would be, if somebody barges into their office saying they want to ask the senator a question, are they going to stop this person, or are they just going to let him through? Because, everything that the law enforcement did was appropriate here. There was nothing political about it. And the Democrats, again, this kind of goes back to the first topic. All they want to do is create chaos, because on the merits of their positions,
it's not fair.
They can't win. So they want to create chaos and be disruptive. But disgraceful performance by him, but even worse by the other Democrats who who were supporting him.
Well, Jonathan, it also goes to the original sin, which is ICE was trying to do operations and they were prevented from doing that.
Ad hominem.
This senator is essentially doing the same thing. So he made the argument, if they treat me this way, how are they going to treat other Americans? Well, if the senator is behaving this way when a government official is trying to do their job, what are the agents supposed to do, right, Jonathan?
Well, exactly.
Ad hominem. I'm just not gonna say anything.
Like, how are they supposed to treat him? It's like, wait, are you supposed to just be able to charge into a press conference and go after the secretary? Of course not. And you're absolutely
Okay,
right on.
I'm done listening to you because I don't know where the microphone is. I just want to point this out that every time some shit goes down, right, Florida has got to come out with something. Now keep in mind I'm not from Florida, but I live in Florida, and I just think it's really funny that remember when the original riots happened with George, well, not the original ones, but the ones with George Floyd. You guys remember a couple years back, and Florida was like, yeah, well, listen, if you do a riot here, I'm gonna pass a law where you can run somebody over, run them over. Well, Florida is at it again.
The Attorney General has announced new protections for immigration agents, and today the sheriff in Brevard County had an ominous warning to people who plan to participate in ICE protests this weekend. CBS News affiliate WKMG is covering this story for us.
We're going to talk about a new program that we're executing to protect ICE agents. Around the country, especially in California, you're seeing a new effort where leftist groups are attacking ICE agents.
Peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. If you let it turn violent, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at.
Fucking Florida, man. Yo, like what? What? You just did that on the news? You just...
We're going to talk about a new program that we're executing to protect ICE agents. Around the country, especially in California, you're seeing a new effort where leftist groups are attacking ICE agents.
Peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. If you let it turn violent, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.
Like, there's not a lot to say there, right? Like that, wow. You know, don't riot in Florida. I don't know, man. It's like, if anybody is like nervous to go anywhere, just go to Florida. Just go to Florida. You can run people over. Cops are killing people for throwing. Well, I mean, those are fair points anyway. What did he say? Firebomb, point a gun, and what was the other one? Throw a bottle? What was it?
Your family where to collect your remains. You do not want opinions. That's what our country is all about. If you let it turn violent.
Turn violent, okay.
You do not want to do that in Brevard County.
Oh, here it is.
Throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies.
Okay, so brick, firebomb, point a gun. Those are oddly specific, but or violent. I mean, he made it clear. And you know what? I kind of agree with this. I do. If you're protesting, right? You're out in the street, you're whatever, walking, doing whatever. First off, I wouldn't do that in Florida anyway. Because if someone, and this is a legitimate law, you hear me talk about this a lot. If you are in the middle of the street and you're blocking it and I feel threatened, I can quite literally run you over. Like that's a law. Okay. So that being said, if you're in the streets. I'd be interested to see if there are riots that are happening right now in Florida. I should have probably looked that up. But if you're going to threaten the police officers or the National Guard or the federal agents like that dude that was throwing the brick, I feel that someone should have been able to get out of their car, a federal agent, and shoot that guy right on the spot. Right on the spot. Right? You're throwing bricks at moving cars. So not only do you danger the driver of that car, right? That car is essentially a mini tank. You hit that driver with a rock through the window. He goes off-road. He hits God forbid, he hits a child or a family or whatever, elderly, and takes their life because you're an idiot throwing rocks. No, I feel that if you want to get violent, you should be responsible for the actions that you're doing right now. It is quite literally that simple. And if you don't think that you shouldn't be, then you shouldn't be out there to begin with. I think that is fair. I think it's more than fair. That's it. And I feel the same way that if cops are out there and they're pushing somebody, you know, like get back, and you're not getting back, well, then I'm going to make you get back. Whether that's with an asp, with their broomsticks that they carry, whatever, we're going to make you get back. And then well, you heard what happens if you make it violent. And I have one more piece of news. This is all over the place. Tony told me about this yesterday. I don't know. I didn't pay much attention to it, but apparently this is big. And I do have a lot of opinions on this. So we're just going to let this play.
Nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program.
Early this morning, multiple explosions were heard at Iran's Natanz nuclear power facility. Iran this morning says that that site has not been destroyed, although Israel this morning saying that that center has been severely damaged. Other reports that it has been destroyed. So Iranian state media today also saying that 3 military commanders in the Iranian regime were killed, as well as 6 nuclear scientists who were killed. And Iran's ministry issued the following statement saying, quote, the aggressive actions of the Zionist regime against Iran could not have been carried out without the coordination and with the approval of.
And this is the problem, right? This is the issue. The question is, would Israel be doing all of this if they did not know that America was backing them? Question 1. I think we all know the answer to that. Question 2. Anybody else paying attention to social media? I'm not really a big fan of TikTok, but if you go on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you'll find a lot of people, the newer generation. When I'm saying newer generation, I'm talking about people that are 18 and up, right? I mean, I guess you could go 16, but we'll go 18 and up. A lot of those people are supporting Palestine, free Palestine, give Palestine their land back, Palestine, Palestine. You don't see a lot of people arguing towards the other side, the opposing faction, Israel, or whatever, the ally, the axis, it doesn't matter. But now you have Israel attacking Iran. Now, if you look at a map, right, first off, that's a trip to where they're bombing, number one. And what do you think is going to happen if Iran goes to war with Israel? What do you think is going to happen? You think Israel's going to handle that alone? No. I could tell you the answer is no to that. Just with my general experience being in the military, that is not going to happen. No.
Of the United States. Thus, the U.S. government, as the main supporter of this regime, will be held responsible for the dangerous consequences of Israel's adventurism. Now, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio issued a statement. You
got Russia, Ukraine going on, Israel, Iran going on, things locally going on. Do you get the title now? The world is burning. It's okay.
As well, saying, quote, we are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. It was 3 a.m. this morning when sirens blared across the country, waking millions of people in Israel, telling them to get to shelters. The defense minister declared a special state of emergency after this elaborate strike in anticipation for the Iranian attack that would likely follow. And Israel says that Iran launched 100 drones in retaliation. Jordan says it was able to strike down some of those drones over its Air Force, and Israel says that its Air Force, the fighter jets, were able to take out many of those drones before they reached Israeli airspace. Guys, back to you.
Alex, any word if those 100 drones made it into Israel, or did the Iron Dome prevent that?
And so the fighter jets were able to be up in the air and striking down these drones before they entered Israeli airspace. A major sigh of relief for people who, again, woke up at 3 in the morning, rushing to those shelters, waiting for word of when and if it would be safe and whether or not the Iron Dome would be overwhelmed. So we do have a little bit of clarity. As of now, the Home Command has told people they are allowed to go a little further out from their home. They do not need to stay in their shelter or right next to their shelter, but still, the streets are empty. People are inside. There is no public gathering.
What a better place for you to be. There's nobody else outside, so now would be the perfect time to film this. Yes.
Allowed today or throughout the coming days.
For all reason, right out the window.
Warned just about an hour ago that this likely could continue as, again, we are following these new reports of another wave of potential strikes taking place right now in Iran.
All right, roger that. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
So a lot of people are wondering, what does this mean for the United States? Are we going to get inserted in this war? What about the talks that were going on between the United States and Iran? Had the opportunity to talk with the president this morning. He said
It's not Iran. It's Iran. Like Iran somewhere.
that it didn't have to go down like this. I wanted peace. I want to be known as the president of peace. This is why I took a whole tour in the Middle East. He has.
Oh. Wait, hold on. So he served? Hold on, go back. Because he said Roger.
I wanted peace. I want to be known as the president of peace. This is why I took a whole tour in the Middle East. He has since released a statement, and I really think it goes into the mind of what he was thinking from the very beginning. This is what the president says. I gave Iran a chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them that it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and the most lethal military.
Those commas? That's coming from a president? Whew. Run-on sentence. And I know what the Trump supporters are going to say is, Jay, that's text-to-speech. You can easily tell your text-to-speech, period, or stop, and they'll do a period for you.
Equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left, and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more deaths, no more destruction. Just do it before it is too late. God bless you all, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to listen to the to that statement. There is sort of an arm's length where the president is saying, I've tried to negotiate with both sides, and specifically Iran has not sort of come.
Didn't Trump also try to get involved with the Russia and Ukrainian thing? He got them to stop, and then Russia did for like a day, and then they're back at it again.
Along. Last night, when we first started getting reports of this, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, warned that this was a unilateral action, meaning that it was not something that the United States was involved in, however much they might have known about it. He went on to say that America's priority was safeguarding Americans and American interests in the region, and that Israel was acting out of self-defense. All of that, I think is interesting, because it is sort of more of an arm's length than we have seen from administrations previously. That what they're saying is that, we want peace. Israel is acting on its own right now, but
it's not though, right? Let's. Oh God, it's gonna sound like I'm taking sides here. They're not. Okay.
The problem is if Iran retaliates. And retaliates against.
I do not think that Israel would be doing what they're doing if they did not know that America would protect whatever their interests are. If Israel only had what Israel had, you wouldn't be attacking countries, a couple countries over. You wouldn't be doing that. So, right.
Against the United States interests, it's going to be a completely different deal?
Well, President Trump said CENTCOM is on high alert and the U.S. will defend itself and Israel if Iran does retaliate. Israel sent in 200 fighter jets. They hit 100 targets. But the world can't allow a number one state sponsor of terror to make nuclear weapons. Iran's breakout time, we're being told, was about a month. Benjamin Netanyahu said that the military assessed Iran currently has enough enriched uranium to build 15 nuclear bombs. And Iran, through its proxies, they fired tens of thousands of missiles into Israel over the past years. So how would America respond if hundreds of thousands or tens?
Okay, let me just help people out in the chat real quick. Does anybody know how far that is from Israel to Iran? Like, now they got me saying Iran. Do you understand how far that is? It's like 4 countries up 3. What is it? Iraq, Syria, Jordan? It's like 3 countries, and it's far. Like, it's far. I gotta look it up. I'll look it up afterwards. I just know that it's far. It's not close, right? It's not like it's the next country over.
Tens of thousands of missiles are lobbed into.
No, it's definitely not a walking distance. I honestly, I don't know the mileage of how far it is, but it is 3 or 4 countries over. It's far. So in order to launch that,
America, we would respond the same way. Iran was given every chance under Donald Trump to negotiate a deal. They were supposed to even talk this weekend. We're being told Iran is saying that probably will not be happening. Donald Trump told Bret Baier last night that we were not involved in this. Trump was aware beforehand of these strikes, and that he hopes that Iran will return to the negotiating table. They're going to definitely try for that. There are several people in leadership that will not be coming back, he says, referring to the fact that they are now dead.
Yeah, they killed 3 generals. Israel had a successful operation, but I think you really have to look at this 2 ways. Yes, the United States wasn't directly involved, but as the president notes in his statement, Israel has our weapons as well, and we will defend Israel if it's come necessary. He also says that he tried to give them the opportunity to have peace. He warned them that their people would die, that their leadership would die. Just come to the negotiating. You can't have enrichment. You can't have a nuclear weapon. Just sign a deal. And I think once we...
I disagree. I want to talk about in the chat real quick. So Tony, you're saying that's not far. When you're talking about the Middle East, that is very far. You have to realize that a lot of these countries, when you look at Israel, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, Qatar, they're all kind of, it's like a conglomerate, right? It's like a European Union. That's 3 countries. It's at least 3 countries over, at least. I don't have a map in front of me, but I could promise you that is far. Like that, you're flying over 3 other countries to get to your target. That's a lot.
We got to an area where Israel was worried that there could be some attack on their people. I mean, we just had October the 7th. And I think, honestly, Israel would have attacked a lot.
That's from Israel over Jordan, Syria, Iraq to Iran. It's 4 countries, or 3 countries if you're not including Iran. Iraq, Syria, I guess Lebanon too. No, Lebanon's north. Yeah, 3 countries.
A lot sooner if a lot of these folks didn't have the hostages. And so I think we're getting to the period of time right now.
It's just a lot of traversing. Like it's just a lot.
Well, the walls are closing in. Iran still has an opportunity, although because of their radical agenda and their ideology, I think there will be some sort of response from Iran. But they could put the brakes on this. They could choose the peace that Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern countries have done under this administration. But unfortunately, the leaders there, I mean, essentially the Ayatollah is underground right now, hiding right now because he's so fearful.
Don't forget what Iran's Ayatollah has always said.
Yeah.
Death to America is not just a slogan. It is a policy, openly threatening to wipe both Israel and the U.S. off the face of the map. And
you have a hard time doing that. I'm letting you know you are going to have a very hard time doing that.
We're also being told that Israelis, you heard Alex's report, that many of them are being told, or they're all being told, to prepare your shelters for long-term use. Many of them were rushing to the grocery store before they had that call to stay home to get water, bottled water. And
yeah, look at the map in the bottom right corner. You see that? Like, I don't know if the if it's not zoomed in enough, but do you see how it's kind of, it's not in the center, but when you look at where they're targeting, that's far into the country, and then you have a country here, and then a country here, and then here's Israel over here. I don't know if you can see my mouse. It's all the way over here on this coast. So that's a lot of traveling, man. You know, that's just fascinating. And of course, America's going to get involved, 100%. Yes, they are.
And a lot of supplies.
Yes.
Yeah, and so, you know, as you pointed out, IDF believes that Iran has the capacity.
What we need to do is just mind our own business. Right. Let Russia, Ukraine figure the thing out. Let Israel and Iran figure things out. Let Israel and Palestine figure things. Just worry about here. Right. You have this protest situation that is happening, and apparently, I guess it's happening in Florida too. Figure out the home problems before you worry about what's going on outside. I mean, we even do that in real life. We worry about what's going on in a house, making sure our family is fed, our wives or our husbands are happy, and then we worry about what's going on outside. We are worried too much and getting involved in too much outside and not focusing on what's the problem here.
To build as many as 15 nuclear weapons within days.
Yeah, very
they have a matter of days of a ramp up. And so you have to sit here and wonder, you know, this could be, you know, who knows? You know, there have been a lot of cases in the past where Iran has talked a big game and then wound up not being able to match the.
Okay, let me comment on that, because they're not going to talk about this in the news. I implore anybody to look up the Iran-Iraq war. Iran versus Iraq, or Iraq and Iran, however you want to say it. I implore you to look that up.
Actions with their words, but if indeed, you know, this is not from just Iran, this is from the IDF, if they are days away from being able to turn that nuclear material into weapons, then we could be looking at days away from a nuclear armed Iran.
So the president had a vision for Iran?
I think every country, literally, I mean, even Ukraine, Russia, I think all countries, North Korea, have the capabilities and probably already have nukes, right? If the way that I see it is, again, people are not going to agree with this. If America can have nukes, if America can have nukes, then so can Iran, then so can Israel, so can Russia, so can Ukraine, so can whatever, Europe, Germany, doesn't matter. Every country has the capabilities of doing so, and I'm pretty sure that every country does do so. Move forward. But we always use that as an argument. Can you tell me the last nuclear fallout? I mean, nuclear, like not from an explosion of a reactor. Yes, okay. Because I can only think of two.
It was really a peaceful vision, just like he has tried to do.
It's been a threat since the 40s. It's almost 100 years. Let's move on. Okay.
And all of the Middle East with the Abraham Accords as well. This is what the president said before this attack.
Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. But with that said, Iran can have a much brighter future, but will never allow America and its allies to be threatened with terrorism or nuclear attack. The choice is theirs to make. We really want them to be a successful country. We want them to be a wonderful, safe, great country, but they cannot have a nuclear weapon. This is an offer that will not last forever. The time is right now for them to choose. Right now, we don't have a lot of time to wait. Things are happening at a very fast pace. They're happening right here. They're happening at a very fast pace. So they have to make their move right now. One way or the other, make your move.
Later on in the program, we're going to be having breaking coverage all morning. General Jack Keane is going to be on the show. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and the great one, Mark Levin, is going to be coming up in the show.
I I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And
this is CNN Breaking News.
All right, the breaking news this morning, major breaking news. Israel says it has launched an unprecedented attack on Iran, targeting the country's nuclear sites and top military leaders, and the operation very much ongoing. The Israel Defense Forces say they used 200 fighter jets, striking more than 100 targets so far across the country. And we just got new reaction from President Trump. We'll have much more on that in just a moment. Video shows explosions at one of the sites in northwest Iran. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the attack struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear program, and they would last, quote, as many days as it takes. Black plumes of smoke rose over Natanz. That's the site of Iran.
So here's a question to anybody inside the chat. Do you think Israel has nuclear capabilities? Take that back. Do you think that Israel has nukes? Right? They actually have them. Like in whatever, their arsenal of some sort. Of course they do. So why is it okay for them to attack Iran with them, but it's not okay for Iran to attack Israel with them? Just a general question. Why is that okay? Why? Okay.
Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility. The country's atomic energy agency says the attack there caused, quote, superficial damage. Iran State TV says the strikes killed several top military leaders and nuclear scientists, including 3 of the most powerful people in the country. The commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, the country's highest-ranking military officer, and its former national security chief.
CNN's Kylie Atwood now reporting that the Trump administration is still hoping that nuclear talks with Iran will go ahead as planned this weekend in Amman. That is according to 2 sources familiar.
And why does the White House roof look like it need to be reshingled? Why does it look like it has a roof from the 60s? Somebody got to get up there and redo that. Like that does not look good from where this angle is. Better get a different shot. That looks like shit.
Familiar with the matter, a U.S. official saying we still intend to have talks Sunday. And just this morning, President Trump is offering his first public reaction to this major escalation in the Middle East. CNN's Elena Treen joining us right now for the latest on that angle. Elena, what are you hearing from the White House right now?
Yeah, this is the first official response we have gotten from President Donald Trump this morning. Came in just moments ago. And I will note, just before I get into it, that this is a bit in contrast with what we have been hearing now from the White House and from the Trump administration, specifically from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, that the U.S. had no involvement whatsoever in these strikes. So the statement from him, he posted this on his Truth Social website. He said that he gave Iran chance after chance to try and make
hold on, back up. Did she just say his Truth Social? So he did create Truth Social?
These strikes. So the statement from him, he posted this on his Truth Social website. He said that
on
he gave
his
Iran
Truth Social website. He owns Truth? I've been asking this shit for years. On his Truth Social website. Unless she means social account on Truth.
Chance after chance to try and make this deal, but that they couldn't get it done. He said that he warned them of the manpower that both the United States and Israel has, and that those took a hardline position during these negotiations in Iran over a potential nuclear deal are, quote, all dead now. And then he said, quote, there has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it is too late.
We saw that already.
Kate, you mentioned this.
5:50 in the morning he posted that. Jesus, I didn't know he was up that early. All right, let's get into the point where they get him talking or something. Or does he not talk? Is it just people talking about what's happening? Okay.
for it to actually calm down and for some kind of ceasefire. That looks unlikely. And I think what's really interesting for the United States and for you all to figure out is what is coming out of Israeli reports. Israeli reporters are saying that there seems to be a much higher level of coordination between the United States and Israel than is being said publicly, and that even some of the words, some of the actions, including potentially the so-called meeting that's meant to be happening to continue a nuclear deal this weekend in Oman, that was all potentially part of a deception. So I think that is going to be very interesting to look at the extent of the U.S. Action in this and permission. What we do know is that Prime Minister Netanyahu has been itching for this fight for years. And we also know that no other American president has allowed any Israeli prime minister to take this kind of action. This would be the first time that this kind of action has been permitted or greenlit or whatever you want to call it by an American president. If you remember, the crisis stems from President Trump pulling out of the nuclear agreement back in his first term. From that moment when Iran was bound and had been verified by the international agencies to keep its uranium enrichment low, it started to produce at higher levels. And what appears to have triggered this movement now is two reports from the IAEA, which is the UN nuclear surveillance agency, which has said two things. One, that Iran has produced up to about 60%, which they believe is, significant, much more rapidly than they expected. And also, in a second report, said that Iran had not allowed them enough access, sort of stonewalling certain access. And that is what caused the latest, reports from the IAEA. Israel clearly believes that it had neutralized serious opposition, including from Iran. So far, you've seen, and I'm going to say this because it's relative, only 100.
Wow.
Drones have been sent in retaliation, but no missiles yet and no nothing. And also Hezbollah is...
And this was what, 24 hours ago? Or, well, I would assume sometime yesterday, right? Okay. So what's going to happen in the next 3 days?
Not involved. Hamas is not involved. Other Iranian proxies are not involved, in great part because they have been defanged. Israel apparently feeling that it, though, was reaching what they call, I believe, a zone of immunity, something like that, where something needs to be done before Iran is in a state of being able to do something without it being able to be pulled back. So this is very complicated. The Arab states, including...
Someone is typing on the keyboard.
Those who made, agreements under the Abraham Accords with Israel are all calling for calm.
And it's not even that. What concerns me about the whole thing is I get, look, there's going to be war. It's been going on there forever. But the fact that now America is going to get involved in this, and when I say get involved, I'm talking about deployment of soldiers, right? Marines, right? Sailors, Air Force. They're all department of all attacks are going to end up there. It's like the same thing for OEF. It's the same thing.
And we'll just see where it goes next. And by the way, it was the Persian Empire and not the Iranian Empire. In Iran right now, the president is making a speech on state television to call for unity and also, as he said, to raise Iran's head up. Clearly, this also presents potentially a matter of survival.
Well, Yemen down there, that's not a threat, right? Like, that's a lot of country you got to go through. That's those four on the top. Oh, that's an issue. Iraq? No, that ain't gonna do shit.
For the current regime. Back to you.
Christiane, thank you so much.
And then the thing is, too, is we have soldiers right now in Iraq. Like, you still have them there. So, and you're right next to that country that Israel's attacking.
With us, let's go to Oren Lieberman now. Oren, you've been covering this since the wee hours of the morning as this was playing out. I was watching you overnight. Is the attack over?
The short answer is no, it doesn't look like it is. We've been here in the Bureau in Jerusalem covering these for the last 10 hours since the first wave of strikes occurred, striking the nuclear enrichment facility in Natanz and a number of other places across the country. That's where we see that 200 fighter jets hitting 100 targets. But it looks like that number may continue to grow. The IDF spokesperson just got on camera a short time ago and put out a statement where he said the Air Force continues to strike in Iran over the recent hours. And it was Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu who, in his first video,
I'd be interested to hear the other side, right? Like, I want to hear what is on their news. Al Jazeera Network, you know, I want to hear that, but I don't know if I could show that on these platforms, honestly. I don't think I can. Plus, I'm not going to look it up. So, yeah, we got one more after this. I want to see this one because this title is getting me to click it.
Smoke filling.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, Spade. That's I'm not going to assassinate this channel that quick. That's not going to happen.
The sky in Iran this morning after Israel bombs decimated Iran's nuclear and military facilities. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warning that the Iranian regime is on the verge of alarming nuclear power.
Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for
cannot have a nuclear weapons, who kept saying
and this do you
over Iran, but from 1988
this
to Iran's air defense capabilities. So these are Mossad agents inside Iran. I mean, we've seen this before last year when Mossad agents took down the leader of Hamas in Tehran when he was in an apartment in the heart of Iran. So that means that when it comes to Iranian leadership, they are once again reminded that no one is safe.
Exactly. I mean, the Israelis are just...
Yeah, they're not showing any of the news over there, and I don't think they're going to. I don't know if I've ever seen an American news broadcasting channel actually show that network at all. Anytime I've ever seen that network was me searching for it or going to it to find it. So I want to hear their other side, though, like the other side of what they're saying. Obviously, it's not going to be in English, but I'd be very interested in that. But I'm not going to do it now. Anyway, I just think it's crazy, and I'll end it on this one just because I think that this is fantastic. Right here.
Country, especially in California, you're seeing a new effort where leftist groups are attacking ICE agents.
Peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. If you let it turn violent, whoo, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.